Hey folks, been a while. Today I want to talk about my labs. I got my labs done twice within 24 hours of each other. Once for, when I say work, through my previous work. They offer that to retirees. And then I had an appointment scheduled, which I didn't even notice because I have calendar challenges. I had an appointment scheduled to see a new primary care physician, primary care provider. She's not a physician, she's a nurse that can prescribe meds, which is fine. I had that the very next day. And my labs weren't the best. And I told you guys a while ago that I would come back and talk about this because I thought my labs were going to be amazing. For real. Now, they weren't terrible, but I thought they were going to be way better than what they were. So, what were they and what are we talking about? This probably doesn't help. It's a Diet Coke. No alcohol. Man, it's good though. Ooh. My blood pressure was high. That has been a struggle for me for decades. I have significantly reduced my blood pressure medication. Maybe that's part of the problem. I still think that I have a lot more healing to do. I may have some coronary artery disease, runs in my family. My mom had it terribly, but she ate completely opposite of me, so there's that. Heavy smoker. I used to smoke, but she was a heavy smoker for way longer than me. The scary part is, though, is that she had a stroke when she was 60, and I turned 60 in November. Not that that's going to be like, oh, boom, you're going to have a stroke, but it's on my mind. It's a driving factor in why I'm so obsessed with health and nutrition. Anyway, back to the labs. So my cholesterol was high. I have very strong opinions on that. The whole cholesterol hypothesis, myth, is based on no scientific evidence, so I'm not super stressed about that. My good cholesterol was really good. My bad cholesterol was really low. And the LDLs and what other random cholesterol is in there was pretty high. There are so many different opinions and such on LDL cholesterol, but there's really no scientific data to back any of that up. What I'm saying is that before I ate low carb, my cholesterol was in the normal range, but my bad cholesterol, the triglycerides, were really bad, and the good cholesterol was really low. So in changing how I ate, I switched all of that around. Now, if LDL goes up because of that, okay, I feel like it's supposed to go up. There is a theory that if you look at LDL cholesterol like that's the fireman that's there to put out the fire, and you don't blame the fireman for the fire. I don't know if that makes sense how I said it. So anyway, my cholesterol was 301 through work, and the next day at my doctor's office, both fasting, the next day at my doctor's office it was 306. Okay. From the research that I've done, because I have been obsessively researching since this, I've been a little bit stressed out about all of this. Again, I'm not super concerned about the cholesterol thing, but god dang it, if I don't get this blood pressure down, I'm gonna be pissed. Yeah. So immediately my primary care provider, PCP, wanted to put me on a statin. I will not go on a statin. I don't care how high my cholesterol gets. I don't think it's going to get much higher than what it is. Maybe it will. The lower carb you eat, I guess, the higher it can go on in some people. A third of the people it affects that way, a third of the people it does nothing, and a third of the people it lowers. Okay, that's what Dr. Berry says. So again, I'm not super stressed about that. But a hack that I've heard from the people who are studying this, Dave Feldman, Ivor Cummins, and I forgot the doctor's name. If you carb load a day or two before your cholesterol test, it'll come down. I don't want to do that. That's going to undo all the shit that I've been working towards. So we'll just wait and see how that all goes. I ordered I call it the triple threat. I ordered a blood glucose, total cholesterol, and ketone meter, and I should get that tomorrow. So I'm super stoked about that because I am a health data junkie. I'm obsessed with it, especially now. And I got this. Can you see that? I got a continuous glucose monitor. Ho ho. Has that been a revelation and a head trip? Man. Okay, so back to my labs. That's why I have this. My labs, my fasting blood glucose, which I thought would be 85-ish. Beautiful 85-ish. Nope. Fasting blood glucose was 101 with my work health assessment and 106 or 9 with when I went to see my primary care person. I don't know how to say that. I'm just going to say doctor. She's not a doctor, but who cares? Who's going to check me on that? No one, because you don't know who I'm talking about. So she wasn't concerned about that, but I am, because I eat low carb. That shit should not be that high. It should have been in the 80s. So then I do a bunch of research, of course, because I'm freaking all the way out, which does not help my blood pressure. I do a bunch of research, and there's tons and tons of videos out there about how your fasting glucose can be higher than what you expect, or higher than normal, or just over 100 or whatever. Because typically you want your blood glucose to stay in between 80 and 100 all the time. That's where I want it, more in the 80s. And it seems that it could be a couple of different things. One of the things being is because I eat low carb, I believe that I'm a fat burner. I am a fat burner because I burned off 45 pounds of it. That when my liver produces glucose in the morning as part of the circadian rhythm to waken me, cortisol goes up, your blood glucose goes up, and all these other hormones go up so that you will wake up. It could be that, except that when I took one of the tests, it was closer to noon. So that definitely wasn't in the morning. That should burn off very quickly. And on those 2 days that I had those 2 tests, it did not. My blood glucose stayed elevated, not in a dangerous way at all. For a lot of people, that'd be, that's great, but that's, I'm an overachiever. I want the higher your blood glucose is, the more damage, the more inflammation, the more things that are happening in your body. So I want my stuff nice and chill and cool and in the 80s. And then after I eat, or when I eat, if it goes to like up around 100, okay, that's fine. But it comes right back down, I'm cool with that. I'm so good with that. So that's my goal. I'm kind of all over the place in this. I don't have a list of things prepared, shocker. But I just wanted to share this information with you in case anybody else is going through this too and they're a little freaked out. I'm not saying that I'm not freaked out. I still stand by I am much healthier today, even with these abnormal, a little bit high numbers than I was 4 years ago, by far. By far. So, what do I want to do? So I asked my doctor for, one, I wanted to change my blood pressure medication from a type that can increase insulin resistance. This is what I've been fighting for years, is insulin resistance. And I understand that my whole life I have been insulin resistant to one degree or another and just getting progressively worse as I got older. I get that. So there's 5.5 decades of significant insulin resistance building in this body. Okay, I get that. It's going to maybe take, I've healed significantly. It's maybe going to take more time. And I think it's going to take me to go actual keto instead of just low carb, which is fine. But like a true addict, all I can think of is, oh, I really actually have to give up the chips now. I have to give up the chips. You know, and I've been backsliding in that. You know, I'll have a few chips every day. Well, that doesn't help me. That doesn't allow my insulin levels to come down. It keeps my blood glucose up. It keeps me having the munchies. So there's a lot of things that I can do to change my eating style patterns again, which I'm going to do, and I'll talk about that in a little bit if I remember. But back to the doctor visit. I wanted to change away from wean off of one blood pressure medication and go in towards a different one. I know that right now I cannot be off of blood pressure meds. So she worked that out for me, and I'm kind of, all of this happened last week. So this is the second week of a new blood pressure medication and stepping down on my old stuff. And my blood pressure is, you know, up and down. None of it is like dangerous, but I would like to get it nice and even. I take my ass back to the gym, maybe that'll happen. But you know, it's been summer. Has it? Yeah. It's been super nice out, and all I want to do is get out in the garden and do stuff. And I feel like I'm doing heavy lifting and I'm working and I'm doing stuff every single day. Might not be as beneficial as I thought it would be. I might have to go back to the gym and do that kind of stuff. That's fine. I just feel like there's not enough time in the day to do all the things that I want, said the retired lady. So, got my meds switched, working on that right now, tracking all the things, tracking all the data, watching a ton of YouTube videos. I've been like really binging on Dr. Annette Bosworth. Learning a lot of new stuff from her, so that's cool. I learned that I've done this wrong when I break a fast. I've learned that, not necessarily when I break a fast, when I eat, I should start with the vegetables first, because that's the fiber, and then that will slow the digestion and the release of any glucose with anything else that I'm eating, which I'm not eating sugar or anything like that, but food naturally contains some sugar, particularly vegetables. My mind just flashed to the watermelon that I bought last weekend, and it was so good, and now I'm not eating it, which is a bummer. So, but see, again, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry about that. So my doctor also ordered a continuous glucose monitor for me. Thank Jesus. It was a whole fucking fiasco trying to get that, because Walgreens messed up. My doctor didn't order all of the pieces that you needed to do all of the things. They gave me one thing. I wanted a different thing. Anyway, that's all straightened out. I'm rocking the continuous glucose monitor. The first few days was a trip. It was giving me high readings over 150, and then I would do the finger stick, and the finger stick would say 99. I didn't get any testing juice. What do they call it? Control solution to check it. So I just have to assume that it's okay, right? I don't know. There's a big learning curve in it for me. It's fun. I like stuff like that. I was super scared about sticking my finger, because when I had my health assessment at work, that shit hurt. She shanked me, man. She shanked me good, and I was not liking that. Anyway, so you don't really even feel it. I mean, you feel it, but it does not hurt. Everybody says that these continuous glucose monitors, when they like do the commercials and they pop it on the back of their arm, they're like, it didn't hurt. Bullshit. It didn't hurt like, oh my God, I'm gonna start crying hurt, but it felt like a burn, like somebody took like a hot poker and burned you a little bit, and burned me a little bit. And it didn't hurt for a long time, but I was just like, I was expecting nothing, like those liars on TV. Dang. So trust and believe, if you get one of these, you're not going to die putting it in. It does not hurt that bad, but it burns a little bit. So there's that. But it is cool. And it also has a disclaimer in the literature that came with it that it can have up to a 15% error margin as opposed to a blood glucose monitor. I'm like, 15%? That's a lot, especially for someone who's an actual diabetic. Like 15% fluctuation in my world is not that big of a deal. Let's put it this way. It's not life-threatening, but to a diabetic, I don't even know how that's okay. But I guess that's the best they can do. That's the best they can do. So when I get a weird reading, the first thing I do is do a finger stick and check it that way, and I go from there. And by go from there means nothing. I don't do anything. Like, okay. So because I was having a day and a half of solidly elevated blood glucose over 100, which is not where I want to be. Wait, let me back up. I also asked for a hemoglobin A1C test. I have never had one of those. It is my opinion, not that this matters to anybody, but it is my opinion that everybody that wants a continuous glucose monitor should have the option to have one because it is so informative, even if there is a 15% chance that it's inaccurate, or there's a 15% margin of inaccuracy. I think if you don't put it through a whole lot of huge fluctuations, I feel pretty confident about the numbers. It's just that when I was eating watermelon and chowing down on potato chips, I had that meter, this monitor going nuts. And so that might be a factor. I don't know. I think that everyone that wants a continuous glucose monitor should have the option to get one. And here's the thing, y'all, diabetic stuff, like these monitors, even with my insurance, which is decent, is expensive. But I've wanted all this stuff for at least 2 years, and it's way more expensive if you just buy it like off the internet. Way more expensive. So, diabetes or diabetes-related diseases are the number one health issues. Why is that shit the most expensive? Oh, I don't know, because somebody is making a big fucking profit off it. Anyway, rant over. I got my stuff. I'm good. I think it is super cool. So, I was freaking out about the fact that my blood glucose was consistently over 100 all the time. When I would wake up in the morning, it could be 108, it could be 120, and then it would stay up. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with my liver? Why is my liver just like pumping out all this glucose? What? And I'm like, of course I have to go there. I'm like, oh, okay, I probably have some sort of liver failure or something. Couldn't possibly be my fault. It kind of reminds me of when I very first started putting on weight. And I was like, dang, my dryer must be messed up because it's shrinking all my stuff. Nope, yo ass is getting fat. So I'm automatically blaming something like an organ or whatever, and it was me. It was me eating way too many carbs. And the cool thing is that without this, I would have never known that, because I can just scan it anytime. So this is what it looks like. I got the Freestyle Libre. I don't know if it's Libre or Libre, Libre 2. You can connect this to your phone, or you can use this monitor. I chose to use this monitor first because from what I understand, that when you connect it to your phone, one, it's a pain in the ass to do. Two, if you get a high or low alarm, you can't shut it off on your phone, and I don't need that shit going off in the middle of the night because it's gone off a couple of times. This has, and I can just shut it off. So then all you do is you put your sensor on, and then you push this button. I'll just do it right now. And you put it next to your sensor, and now I have a reading, I don't know if you can see it, of 108. I just ate probably 40 minutes ago. No, almost 2 hours. Hour and a half. I ate around 1:30. I don't know. Jesus God. I ate over an hour ago, so it spiked shortly after lunch to 125, according to this. So when it said that, I immediately went and did a finger stick. The finger stick said, like, just a little over 100. I don't remember what it was. So I'm more apt to believe the finger stick, because this doesn't go by blood. This goes by what's called interstitial, I think I said it right, fluid. So it's the fluid around the cells, not necessarily blood. So there's a delay in between your blood versus the interstitial fluid. Okay, whatever. What I like about this is I can check it on the fly, and if it looks weird, then I can double check it with a finger stick, which I feel more confident in the finger stick. But you can't be finger sticking all the time, because I check this all the time. I'll just be sitting there, bam, a couple minutes later, bam, check it out. And it's, when I first started the first day, the first 24 hours, it was all over the place when I was eating very frequently and a lot of carbs. So yesterday, what was yesterday? Wednesday? Tuesday, I decided that I was going to eat actual keto instead of just low carb. And I was going to pay very close attention to staying under 20 grams of carbs. And guess what? My blood sugar was so damn beautiful all day long, people. And guess what else makes my blood sugar good? Alcohol. It was all high the very first day and a half. And I'm like, this is bullshit. So then what did I have? I went down to the concert at the park, and I had a bunch of wine. Checking it the whole time I'm drinking. In the 80s. And I'm like, well, clearly alcohol is good for you. And then I decided after that I was going to eat legit low carb, and it stayed in the 80s. It never went over 100. It might, like, after I ate, I think it maybe popped up to the low 90s. I don't know. Anyway, so for the last day and a half or so, 2 days, I've been eating legit low carb, and my blood glucose has stayed fabulous. So I'm like, okay, well, apparently this is how I'm supposed to live. So eating low carb for the first 4.5 years of my health journey has been great. It's been very helpful, and now it's just not quite enough. I got to go back to the hemoglobin A1C thing. My hemoglobin A1C test came back at 5.4. 5.7 is the cutoff for pre-diabetes, and then the numbers go higher and things get worse. And I thought, cool, yay, all right, that's good. And then I learned what that actually means. So hemoglobin A1C is the measure of glucose molecules attached to your hemoglobin. If I'm saying this right, I'm not sure. You can do your own research, because I'm literally just learning this, so I may not convey this properly. But those red blood cells live for about 100 days. So your hemoglobin A1C test looks at those red blood cells and the glycogen that's attached to them. And I don't know if it's like the number of glycogen or the status or how it looks or whatever, but it can tell what your average blood glucose is, average blood glucose over the last 3 months in one blood test, which is cool. So when you have a hemoglobin A1C of 5. Is it 5? Yeah. Yeah. Hemoglobin, if you have an hemoglobin A1C of 5.0, which mine was 5.4, that means your average blood sugars are about 100. That's not that great. That's not that great. So mine was 5.4, so it was over 100, and my average, just the first 2 days that I had this continuous glucose monitor, was 120-ish. So I'm like, that's not where I want to be. That's still not good enough for me. That's probably why my blood pressure is still high, and I'm struggling with controlling it. So that's what led me into, I'm going to go even low carb. I'm going to get those blood sugars down to a more manageable level. Granted, it's going to take way more than 2 days. But they did come down, so that's great. So I'm hopeful with that. And then we'll see what happens with I need to get my ketones up and just kind of monitor things for a while and stay this course. I need to be actual keto and not do a bunch of keto treats, because I went to a new grocery store and they had a nice aisle with a bunch of keto treats and shit in it, and I thought, you know what, I'm doing good, let me get some of these. Y'all, those things are not your friends. They are delicious, yes, they are still processed food, they still spike your insulin, they still create problems in our bodies, even though it says that it's keto on there. I have something upstairs right now that says keto on the front, and then you flip it over and it actually has sugar in the back. And I bought it just because it's really low sugar. It's still fucking sugar, okay? So no. Anyway, so this is where I am. I wanted to share my labs with you folks, my disappointment in my labs, and I'm still going to stay the course. I'm going to try to do better. One of the things that I need to work on is to not use food as entertainment. I can look forward to lunch because, it's going to taste good, and it's just, you get that dopamine hit from eating. I got to get away from that. I got to get away from, I have to give up the chips. Side note, I did have popcorn with the CGM, and yes, there was an increase in my blood sugar, but it was pretty minimal. I think I'm going to live with that. I think that's going to be, maybe at some point I will give up popcorn. I doubt it. Maybe I won't eat it as frequently or as much, but it does not do to me what potato chips have done to me. And also, prior to getting my CGM and all my blood work done, which was not smart, the week before, I was tearing up some nachos. They were pretty good. I was trying not to eat a lot of chips. Well, I was crushing them up on top of a salad, but it was still pretty carb heavy for me. And clearly I am very sensitive to carbohydrates, and they are not my friend. So I'm going to take my own medicine, and we all know what that is. Let food be thy medicine. And I will see you guys in the next video and give you an update on what's happening.